And we're live. Content provided at the event is for general information only, not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Any performance reference is historical and no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged, may not be invested into directly. Any economic forecast set forth during the event may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that any strategy will be successful. These thoughts and opinions are those of Gimbal Financial and do not represent the views of LPL Financial. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, a member of FINRA SIPC, and investment advice offered through Gimbal Financial, a registered investment advisor, and separate entity from LPL Financial.
Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning.
Do you think that the American population is ever going to be smart enough to figure out that coffee is hot? Like that was a legitimate disclaimer. Can you put your disclaimer back up there?
Sure can. Coffee is hot. Hot coffee is hot.
Yeah.
Iced coffee is cold.
Yeah. So that's a legitimate disclaimer somewhere. I was reading a research report from the Ned Davis Research today, and it's 3 pages long, but the disclaimers on here have more words on it than the report itself. The disclaimers cost more probably than the advice itself. And I can assure you that less than 1% of the people will ever read the disclaimers. And so it makes me wonder why we have to worry about people that can't figure out coffee is hot. If you're going to invest, if you're an investor out there, it's risky, okay? Like, I don't know how many times we can tell people life is risky, but it's risky out there. So beware. And beware that hot coffee. I'm sorry.
Did we not have this?
I had too much coffee this morning.
I think we had this discussion earlier this week, didn't we?
I don't know. I'm the old guy.
Yeah, we did. And it was basically on the type of reports that we can generate as financial professionals. And that's proof. Ned's report is proof. If you ever get a report from us, it does have some disclaimers on it.
Yeah, and you can read them, and we encourage you to read them. But I would guess that they were written by legal people that you and I probably would need to call the legal department, have them explain what they're actually saying. So that's Keith. That's my cynicism. I just think let the buyer beware. If you're going to invest with Gimbal Financial, you need to ask us questions. You need to be aware of what we're doing because we're here to help you. But we are not the experts in putting you in safe investments. That's why you go to your local bank or credit union, because that's where you can put in and get a guaranteed today. This will change, but I bet you can get a guaranteed 0.01% today. And the only risk to you is getting 0.01%.
Well, like we were talking a couple minutes ago, I mentioned to Keith that I was looking at a stock that I bought personally, and it went the opposite way that a successful stock was going this morning. And I wondered, why do I buy these things from time to time?
Who does that? Like, why would
and this would be the type of stock that, everybody knows the name of this stock, and everybody, well, I would bet a large percentage of Americans use this company's materials. But sometimes even your favorite company, the company that you might put up to your ear, or that you might use to surf on the internet, or whatever it is that you like to use, those have bad days too.
We were celebrating a friend's life this week, and one of their family members pointed out her investment advice. She said, narrow down your research, figure out what you're going to buy or sell, and do the exact opposite of what you're thinking. And sometimes that's what the stock market does to you. If it was easy, there wouldn't be a market for which you can make profits in.
No, and we've talked about psychology on this show so many times, and that's the biggest part of it, is know what you're getting into, know when you're going to get out, and know what you own. Now, that was David Malik. I think we owe him David Malik was the one who really pointed that out to us, or at least to me. I really appreciate that.
While we're talking about that, I was going to share a screen, and then I was going to have Amanda do the COVID update for us. But are you seeing a Google page, Amanda?
I am.
Yeah, I just was curious. I Googled, and you can do this on your own computer. What are the top holdings in the NASDAQ? Um,
Okay.
So if you
We're not
buy,
recommending these.
if you buy the index, which you can't buy the exact same thing, but you can buy an investment that might mimic the index. Google says, and this may or may not be correct, but this is what, because you can't trust everything on the internet anyway, but Google says when you buy a portfolio that represents the NASDAQ, 13% of your money is going to be in a stock for which you might put up to your ear or something of that nature. And almost 10% is going to be the ones that created Windows 10. And another 10% of that investment is going to be in a stock that probably delivered something to your front porch today. And then a company that creates cars for which they just showed a profit, I think, for the first time in the last 12,
congratulations.
12 months. Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty cool.
The capitalism, the whole goal is to make a profit.
That's the goal.
Yeah, that's the goal. So by the time they made a profit, they represent almost 5% of your investment. And so I point this out because Amazon announced earnings today, and they beat what the market expected. And last I looked, their stock was up nicely. And so that if you realize that they represent almost 10% of the index, then if the S&P should finish the day up today, it could be just the result of a single stock out of 500. One stock could drive the performance of that index. And I thought of bringing this to your attention today because I don't think most of us really realize how heavily biased an index is to such a small handful of stocks. That's what is that? 13, 23, 33, 30, say 7 or 8% is just of that whole index is 4 companies, which is crazy. That's if those 4 companies would stub their toes, we could see it, the indices have some difficult times. So,
and there's expectations. Like Amazon came out today, and there's a beat of expectations. It's kind of like if I promise Caroline I'm going to be home at 5 and I show up at 4, things are probably pretty good. If I show up at 8 tonight, things are probably pretty bad. And so, your earnings expectations, they're really important on Wall Street. The other thing that's important is revenues. You could beat earnings, but you might miss on revenues. And so there's a couple things that, each quarter Wall Street's looking at and saying thumbs up, thumbs down to the performance or the beat of an expectation.
And Elon Musk is going to be on SNL on Saturday.
I heard that.
So that could also, you might have
I may have to watch the YouTube. That's after my bedtime.
Me too. I don't like that show, so I will not be watching. But let's hop into the
world of COVID.
Yeah, let's talk about the COVID. So like we continue to show, it's all a lot of positive things happening in the COVID world. Positive cases are down. Vaccine administrations of doses are up, and seems to be worldwide as well. So Keith and I were kind of just spitballing some things this morning. This chart really fascinated us just from the perspective of, we've heard India is running rampant with positive tests. They are not doing that well. And they are, according to this graph, the 3rd highest country to be administering COVID vaccine doses. And doing that math, I mean, India has a population of close to 1.4 billion people. And about 27% of that are what they consider the untouchables. To put that into perspective, the United States has nearly 40% of our population vaccinated. And so, even though they're the 3rd highest with close to 150 million doses administered, it kind of makes sense why they're not doing as well as a lot of the other countries.
Yeah, that it's hard to appreciate the idea of untouchables with our culture is so concerned about every component of our society. And we said 27% of 1.4 billion. So is that like 300
70 or so.
370 million people. So there's 370 million people, 50 million people more than there are in America, for which that culture, according to what I studied in school, they don't care about. So there's 370 million people in India that probably won't get vaccinated, and they probably will have a very bad situation because that culture undervalues them as a human. And so if you see, I think what it tells you, if you see things about how bad it is in India, you should probably flip that coin over and be thankful how good it is in America and how people are given the opportunity to be valued in America, unlike most countries in the world.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome thing to talk about. Yeah, even this morning, you think about how binary our world has become, and you're for this or you're against that. And just walking over to the coffee shop, I recognized a lady that that I had watched on YouTube the night before. Caroline and I watched a school board meeting.
Wow.
That's how boring our life is.
I got to hang out with you guys sometime.
So we watched a school board meeting because we wanted to tune in to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer's presentation. And do you know what happened to me today? I thought, well, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. And who do I see walking into my favorite coffee shop? My new friend Terry, who is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. I think that's her title. And we got to pray with her right there on the entrance to the coffee shop.
Very nice.
And guys, it was just an awesome, tangible way to remember that we're people. And it's not just issues, we're people. None of us are untouchable here. I mean, it's all about the relationships.
Boy, time changes, because when I got to meet some of the leadership at the school system I grew up in, I was touchable. Back in the day, there was this wooden thing that touched me on occasion, but the world changes and I'm okay with that. So what I wanted to point out on there, Amanda, up there at the top, if y'all can read this, it says the National Restaurant Association's most recent survey found that 1 in 4 restaurant operators listed recruitment as their top concern, ranking it higher than COVID-19. In other words, restaurants can't get enough employees. And I will unashamedly tell you that I am a capitalist. If you're thinking about economic systems, there is no comparable thing on earth that can compete with capitalism. The lies that you're being told about socialism is that socialism is not a good plan. They do not use our scarce resources in an honorable way. Is that socialism, one of the greatest disservices they do is the misuse of resources, whereas capitalism forces resources to the places that are needed. I write consistently when there's a natural disaster that the price gouging that the media talks about is not a problem. If there is a disaster and some guy gets in his pickup truck with his generator and drives it to the Gulf to sell it at a ridiculously high price, he risks his gas, he risks his assets, he risks his life to get down there. And the person with the biggest wallet is the person that will pay for that. Well, if he sells that generator at $10,000, all the other guys with pickup trucks, all the other guys can get their hands on generators are going to find their way to the Gulf Coast, and all of a sudden that $10,000 price is going to drop to $1,000 to $500 to $200 to $100 or whatever the price is going to be. It's going to bring that resource to the people in the Gulf Coast faster than the federal government could ever think of doing it. And so with this, our government's been telling us we need a higher minimum wage, and it's just not true. The government was paying high unemployment, so all these restaurant workers left the workforce. And so in order for these restaurants to get them back into the marketplace, they're gonna have to raise their wage. They don't need the federal government to give us a higher minimum wage. The market itself will drive those employees back into the marketplace as the restaurants begin to do it. And because of this disparity, you all are gonna have higher prices at restaurants because it's gonna be passed down at the cost level. There's the companies have to make a profit, or they'll be one of those restaurants with the close sign on the door. And that's just the bottom line of how this thing works. So
I saw an ad for a restaurant here locally that is hiring. It was an ad on Facebook where you could text in and text an application or interest in. And this restaurant has been demolished.
oh, they tore it down?
They tore it down and they're hiring right now.
Yeah, exactly. I tried to go get breakfast there last week. I love it.
And so what that is, that just tells you the demand is so strong that the owner of the restaurant is saying, hey, look, my restaurant is torn down right now, but I know we're going to sell a heck of a lot of sandwiches and tortilla soup. And we got to start hiring some people.
Yeah.
And so that's the benefit of supply and demand. I think that's what you're talking about, right? It's just supply and demand.
Well, I thought I'd move on. I've been a little animated this morning, but did you guys know? Now I have to dig deep for this data, but did you know there's a chicken wing shortage? You're talking about the restaurants. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know it.
Chicken wings, which I don't care for myself. That's too much.
I love them.
That's too much work for me, but like, and I have janky teeth, so I can't get them. So, is that the right word, Amanda? Janky?
There's
That's
really
fine.
a shortage of chicken wings.
That's okay.
Chicken wings have gone up 40 to 50% since probably the third quarter of last year.
Man, I'm gonna have to check the kids' baby books to see if we put the price of chicken wings in.
So chicken wings, you know what the economy did for that? Because chicken wings have gone up 40 to 50%.
Moved on to thighs and legs.
They've dropped chicken wings from the menu because they realize if they have to raise the price 50%, you guys aren't going to buy chicken wings, so that they're not even going to put them on the menu for a while, which will reduce the demand, right? There's not going to be as much demand. And so the supply disparity will take care of itself and it'll be back on the menus in a year is my prediction. And this is no guarantee. There are no guarantees on
Tune in 1 year from now as Keith eats chicken wings.
We need to put that on. Like, you see me struggling over it. Well, and I don't want to leave you guys hanging. Like chicken wings could be personal. The first time my wife Connie ate at BW3's Buffalo Wild Wings was last Sunday after church. So I'll have to report back to her. We won't probably be doing that anytime soon because I hadn't eaten there, so I didn't know that I was paying too much. But we also have a shortage in yard gnomes.
Yeah, that's really good to know.
It's a big deal, and it was caused by the Suez Canal ship that got stuck a few weeks ago, and so the people, our friends in London, are not able to get their yard gnomes. So supply and demand, it never ceases to affect the world. I was reading Ned Davis research because many of you, $2.89 was what I paid this morning to fill up my gas tank. I don't know.
You're putting in 87.
I know. I'm feeling poor right now. Otherwise, I'd crank up the octane of that thing. So, but you guys may not remember this. So a year from now, you're not going to remember this chicken wing conversation. 1 year ago, the Texas intermediate price of oil was negative. You guys remember that?
I don't remember that, but I could see that.
Yeah, y'all quit driving. Remember, you're all stuck in your house. Nobody was driving your car. They're cranking the oil out of the ground faster than they'd ever done before, and they had nowhere to put it.
See, you're staying on supply and demand.
Yeah, they had nowhere to put it. They couldn't put it in the ships that they're running over, and so they had to pay people to take the oil a year ago. I wish I had a tank in my backyard. I don't know if the Fisher zoning people would appreciate that, but we've had the biggest run up in oil prices and Ned Davis started reporting this, I forget how long ago, but I think I saw it on here earlier, but it's the biggest run up they've had in their time of recording. So pay attention. Things change, supply and demand. It constantly shifts. It creates opportunities. It creates frustrations. I can't imagine those poor homeowners in London trying to decorate their gardens right now, but they'll get over it. We'll come up with some new invention for them.
A new gnome.
A new gnome. And I got to go out mushroom hunting with one of our clients this week, and I really enjoyed that. And it just made me think of the beauty of investing. If you've never gone out mushroom hunting, it also has a supply and demand thing. I looked on the internet, and those morels were selling for like $80 a pound or something crazy like that. And it occurred to me, if our science and technology guys could reproduce a morel mushroom, they would, because at $80 a pound, you can make a lot of money making mushrooms, but science hasn't figured out how to reproduce a morel. And so to get a morel, you got to go out in the woods, you got to carry, your stick, you got to have a little, I think it's got to be a mesh little bag so that the spores drop and you reproduce theoretically. But to find a morel is a treasure hunt, and you have to know what you're looking for. There's no exact science to it, but I think finding winning investments is kind of a treasure hunt too, and just as exciting to me. And I think that's what keeps us coming into the office every day. It keeps us getting excited to talk to you guys every week. And we're, I think, as excited as I've been in my entire career to do that on your behalf.
I think one of the things that has gotten me up in the mornings recently is just the opportunity for relationships with you guys. Each one of you probably gets one of these from us a year. Does Debbie pick these cards out?
Debbie does.
Great job, Debbie. Can you see the fun stock chart? I didn't submit this one to compliance before we sent this, but anyway, you can see this. This is a happy birthday card from Gimbal, and you might see each one of our signatures is on here, and it's fun to see your card and think about you on that day. And so on your most special day, just know that we are for you. We're for you all the time. Here recently, we had the opportunity to say goodbye to a really good friend. And this friend, how many generations of clients are Gimbal? Is it 3? I think it's 3.
Not only that, but it's a broad. We've got sisters, brothers, cousins, and things, and we are open for referrals, y'all. We love to help your family members, but it is a treat to help families.
It's these relationships that are just unbelievable, and so the communications, like this one, this is a card, but the conversations we get to have just been awesome, and so thanks for letting us know what's important to you and hearing us out on supply and demand. And we're interested in what you're looking for and demanding from your summer. So if you've got some stuff coming up where you're going to buy something more expensive than a hot tub, or you're dreaming of doing something 5 years from now, we definitely want to know about that so that we can celebrate it like we celebrate your birthday.
And I noticed on here, Doug, that the angle of the chart on this birthday cake is angling upward. And those of you that receive this, there's no guarantees in the future the market's going to go up. And so don't leave this to be a promissory kind of mailing on us. It basically just says wishing you a year that outperforms all of your expectations. So there isn't much of a disclaimer on the back, but this is not marketing. This is a true wish. But with my tongue in cheek, I was around when LPL was working on going public and redoing their logo, and they had a variation. Can you see this logo over here, Amanda?
Yep.
They had a variation of this, and they had the compliance people had them going back and forth to change the variation. And I still think it's a little promissory. If you look at the angles on the LPL logo there, it seems to be very similar to that on our birthday card there. So I don't know if there's a disclaimer at the bottom of that or not, but the one before that was even pointing upwards more, and the legal department made them change the logo into this one that they thought was less promissory. So there you have it, a little history lesson about our back office.
Keith, I'm drawing a blank. Who is the stock investor who would invest based on government spending? What was that guy's name? Bernard
Baruch, maybe. Yeah. Baruch was
I'm forecasting that this is going to be conversations in the future. And if this is something that you're thinking about, I know I've gotten a couple of emails on it this week. If you're thinking about, hey, where's all these trillions of dollars going to go? feel free to give me or Keith a call. We've been reading up on some of this stuff to try and see where the opportunities are going to go. There's a lot of cash out there. And normally, where there's a lot of cash, there's some opportunities. Some of those opportunities have even been here in our own backyard locally. But there's going to be some opportunities ahead, and money's going to flow to different places. And so if you're curious where your capital is going to be exposed to risk and opportunity, give us a shout and we can have a dialogue about that.
Yeah, I was doing some more research, and FactSet investment research. You can find them online and get this information. But they reported that we've explained to you what earnings season is. It's the every 90 days when corporations announce their profitability. And during this current earnings season, last week when FactSet updated their information, they said 25% of the companies on the S&P 500 have reported the results of the first quarter. 84% of those were above expectation. 84%.
That beat rate is amazing, and it's been amazing for, I feel like, years now. I mean, it's just been unreal.
At the current pace, it'll be the highest level that, if it keeps this up, and again, no guarantees, but it'll be the highest level since FactSet's been recording this data. And what it tells me, again, I'm Mr. Capitalist here, not a big fan of socialism, is that the more the government can get out of the way, these businesses have to adapt to stay in business so that they don't go out of business, so they can compete in the marketplace. And so these companies that were shut down a year ago are coming back to life like crazy. And there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. There are opportunities for employment out there. If you can't find a job, those opportunities are big. Now's the time to get your resume fired up. Now's the time to look, take your choice. There's all kinds of opportunities out there, and the world is opening up. I drove my daughter to the airport yesterday, and the traffic at 6 o'clock in the morning was ridiculous. The line of people going into the airport was ridiculous. I think I mentioned a few weeks ago about the contrails in the sky, how many of those are up there. And so there's all kinds of indicators that have nothing to do with what you're going to see on the internet, that this economy is opening up. And if you need to join in, now's the time to join in. Opportunities abound.
Capitalism rewards newness and efficiencies. And so, like with the airline travel, I don't know how you guys go online and make your travel plans. If you do go online, I'm assuming you do, Travelocity or something like that. Maybe you go direct to the airlines. But I was introduced to a new company this week, well, new to me company, and I was researching what they do. And what they do is they provide all the tools and data to these companies that allow you to book your travel. They don't book the travel themselves. They just provide the data. So they're helping companies be more and more efficient. And boy, their stock price has been rewarded. And so so even as earnings increase and the expectation increases along the way, that can get a little narrower as expectations keep going up and up and up. Well, there's new companies coming out with new efficiencies that they'll have new opportunities to grow and beat expectations.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. I've been excited I think I shouldn't have had 2 cups of coffee today. So next week I'll hold it back to 1. But the opportunities abound. I would say a big risk to all you investors out there is probably the inflation risk we mentioned last week, and that's probably going to hit you through your bank and credit union accounts. And so you just may pay attention to those things, because I was joking about chicken wings, but if you pay attention to the things you use, I think you will notice that those prices will be increasing in the weeks and months ahead. So that then devalues the money you have sitting in those savings accounts earning nothing. All right, Amanda, what else do we need to know? We didn't let you talk much this week.
That's it. That's all right. All good. Thanks so much for all your wisdom and for sharing.
Doug, anything else?
See you guys soon.
All right, have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.